Morning you guys, it's Karen. I thought I would come and do an update, a quick migraine update, but mostly today I wanted to talk about how chronic illness affects mental health, or certainly my experience of it and people that I know dealing with the same kind of thing. A lot of you are so kind to me on here and say that, you know, I'm always so positive and upbeat, and I think perhaps that's not a true reflection on life, because when I come on here and do a video which is, you know, an hour or an hour of the week, I am normally, well, always at the point of having taken tramadol, because I don't film on non-tramadol days. And when I take tramadol and it takes away, weirdly it takes away my dizziness and my pain, then it's much easier to be upbeat, if that makes any sense. So I don't want this to be completely negative, but I did want to tell you how having a chronic illness has affected me, and I suppose what I do to kind of counteract that, because it's ongoing with me, you know. So I gave you an update, I think 3 weeks ago. It's the one entitled Nothing is Working, because I don't feel like I'm getting the relief that I need from gabapentin, but it is working to a degree. And so it's all, I feel like, very boring and very complicated, but it's given me some of the day back. That's what I would say. And I would say that on some of the non-tramadol days now, I can do more than I used to do. You know, I used to be just lying on the sofa and doing nothing, and that is not the case now. Well, not all of the time, it is some of the time. But once you look at my charts, it's like, is that enough? You know, it's not taken away the need for the tramadol that I can take on 15 days a month. Those days are when it's really severe. Sometimes the tramadol doesn't work on top of the gabapentin, and I'm taking a large dose of gabapentin. However, I'm still on the increase. I'm still not at the, well, 900 is what we're currently aiming for. This is via the GP, and I'm just starting. Oh, I've just realized I didn't take an extra one this morning. I'm just starting on the 800 dose, and so it's going to be another couple of weeks before I'm onto the 900 milligrams. But I do find that I'm having better non-tramadol days for sure. But like I said, nothing I could say is working enough that I don't need to take any other pain relief. Now, I do have an NHS appointment, finally, at the end of March. And my goodness, this was a big dilemma. I actually just did a Patreon video talking about my dilemma. My dilemma was, do I go back to the NHS and even see the neurologist? But I really appreciate that he's still seeing me, because he said to me, normally at the point one before I last saw him, I think, he would have discharged me, because he's basically said, I've come to the end of NHS treatments, except for this list of medications which he has sent to the GP. So there's no real reason, in his words, for me to keep seeing him. But he said, I would like to keep seeing you if that's okay with you, because I'm too complex for the GPs, and he thinks it will just get muddled. And I'm so glad he said that, because it is. See, trying to get the GP to increase my gabapentin is really quite difficult. And I'm not sure of the dose. And when I saw the GP, I actually made an appointment. I went to see the GP to discuss it. And even she was saying she's not sure of the dose. She was happy to go to 900 milligrams as a single dose, because I'm also on it for nerve pain in my feet and insomnia and hot flushes. And you could go to 900. I think you can go to 1200 for migraines, but I can ask him when I see him. But the reason for wondering whether it was worth seeing the guy again was because he's very anti-tramadol, and in one of his letters to the GP, the last time I saw him, which was nearly a year and a half ago, he said, if venlafaxine works, that was the one that he was wanting me to try next. If venlafaxine works, she should stop the tramadol. And that thing has haunted me, because tramadol is my only rescue medication. Triptans don't work for me. I can't take any aspirin or ibuprofen because of my stomach or anything like that. So tramadol is the only thing available to me, and it's the only thing that works for me. And so I was horrified that he had written that in a letter, because my understanding is there's no cure. And so if venlafaxine works, what would I do for the days when it didn't work? You know, even the goal of the NHS to discharge me is that I have less than 10 migraine days, or maybe less than 15. I'm not sure what it is now. And so what about those days? You know, I've got to have rescue medication. So I don't know, that frightened me. And I know that he's anti-tramadol. And so seeing him again just gives him another opportunity to write to the GP and say she doesn't need to be on tramadol. Now, I got a medication review request. I suspect because I've been requesting tramadol. You know, I just do an online request for it every 6 weeks or whatever it is. And I went in to see the GP about that, and she was absolutely fine about it and said there was no problem at all. So it just depends on, you know, who you're dealing with and what's been said. But if the neurologist specifically said to stop it, I think it would be difficult for the GP to then prescribe it. And I would be not in a good mental state at all. I didn't have that pain relief up until 2020, and it's very hard then to, if not impossible, to plan things like appointments and meeting friends and filming and all of that. You know, not so much filming because you can then just repeat that, but to make an appointment and then be in too much pain to go to it is really, really tricky. So that was one of the reasons I wasn't sure about going to him. And also because, like I said, I know that I'm at the end of the road, so why do I need to go and see him? Anyway, I then got given this appointment at the end of March. And I realised that with my husband's new job, he can't work from home. I didn't really want him in his first couple of weeks working to be asking for time off. And the appointment, the clinic that I go to is at around about between sort of 3 and 5 on a Tuesday afternoon. The one day that my dog walker can't take Watson after the walk. She can take him for a walk, but she can't take him after. It's a long story why. But I was just like, what am I going to do? Because the hospital is far away, and it would mean leaving Watson for 4 hours. Now, I'm sure some of you will say, my health comes first, I need to do that, blah, blah, blah. I'm not leaving him for 4 hours. That's just the way it is. So, you know, it doesn't really matter what people say about that. We left Watson for 2 hours when we went to visit Kev's dad over Christmas, and that is the longest we've ever left him. And like I said, he's 10 years old, and that's just what we've done. So anyway, I was like, what am I going to do? And I thought, well, I'm just going to have to try and change the appointment nearer the time. Now, I have this other... I didn't mean to go into this too much, sorry, but I have this other situation that I'm looking into, which is going privately and having the greater occipital nerve block done. But I believe if I did that and they notified the GP, that the GP would then notify the neurologist and I wouldn't be able to see them again. Anyway, long story short, I found somebody to help with Watson, and I am going at the end of March to see my neurologist. If nothing else, I want to discuss with him the gabapentin dose and see what is the right thing to do there. I want to talk to him about the fact that gabapentin does work for me for insomnia, for hot flashes and for nerve pain at night. So if I wanted to try one of the other ones that he'd suggested, like pregabalin, zonisamide, you know, there's others on the list, like how would that work? Because I don't think they would work on the hot flashes essentially. Just see what he says about that, and also see what he said about the greater occipital nerve block, just out of interest. It's all information gathering. So I am going. So end of March, I know I will give you an update after that. So I'm not going to make the appointment for the greater occipital nerve block before then. There's some other things I'm looking into as well. I'm always looking into something, and I've always got things on my list, you know. So that's where I'm at. Still struggling, but have a little bit more of a life than I did before. Wow, I didn't expect it to take that long before I got to the bit about mental health. So when I talk about chronic illness and mental health, I wanted to specifically say chronic illness and not just chronic pain, because I feel like pain is addressed a lot, but not illness. And for me, the pain, as I've always said, is kind of secondary. Sometimes it's absolutely unbearable, the pain, but it's still secondary, because the thing that is difficult for me, and from what I understand it, from what the neurologist has told me, is the prodrome to the migraine, so the lead up to the migraine and the kind of hangover from the migraine, is if fatigue just doesn't seem to cover it, because I can be sitting on the couch and be like, I want to change the channel, I'm going to reach for that remote control. In a minute now, I'm going to reach for that remote control. I just need to get the energy. Right, okay, if you've got the energy yet, okay, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to reach for it, okay. And then that exhausts me. It's a ridiculous type of fatigue, where even if I need to get up and go to the loo, it's like it takes me all of the energy, takes me every bit of willpower to do it, and it just is draining. And Kev can tell if we go on a walk and I'm okay at the beginning of the walk, he'll instantly be able to tell if I get a migraine, even if it's not yet hurting my head, because I can't, I'm literally like very, very slow rather than walking at a normal pace. And I would like struggle with a hill or whatever, really, really struggle. What was my point? My point in that was, it's not just chronic pain that people struggle with, it's chronic illness. It can be from tiredness, it can be from dizziness, it can be from a lot of other things than just pain, and I think that's not often covered. So I've got my little list in front of me. I don't know if I need my glasses on to read it. No, I think I can probably cope. But these are the things that I feel because of this chronic illness. Okay, so the first one is the time that has been robbed for me, because I've had migraines for 20 plus years. But when I first went to the neurologist, they were happening a couple of times a month, you know, or they were happening at a certain time of day, and all I had was a really bad headache for half an hour to an hour, and pain medication would work, and then I'd be fine and get on with things. So they weren't too disruptive to my life. They were just terrifying when they happened, which is why I went to the neurologist. But robbed time is the biggest thing for me, because for the last 7 years, I've had these horrendous daily migraines that have taken up most or all of my day. And I have had probably 1 or 2 relief days per month. And so the time that I feel it's robbed from me was time with my dad. And obviously my dad died in 2020, and having to go through the whole funeral process and then, you know, look after his wife afterwards as well was excruciating for me. But more than that there were so many things I wanted to do with dad that never happened because of my head. And so I would say for 3 or 4 years before he died, I wasn't seeing him as much as I used to and as much as I wanted to. And when I did see him, it was literally the basics. You know, I was popping in, making sure he was all right, doing his shopping if that's what he needed doing. But we were probably more grouchy with each other because he also had migraines, which he didn't know was migraines, but everything he described to me, that this muggy head and all of the things he described to me were exactly as I was what I was experiencing. I did say to him a few times about it, but he had back pain as well. He had really bad back issues. And so, yeah, I feel like it robbed time from my dad, and I can never get that back now because my dad is gone. And so I will never get that time again. And, you know, the last 3 years with him were a struggle because I was in pain most of the time. I was talking to him. His voice was very, very loud. That always bothered me. And it wasn't quality time. I feel like it's robbed time from Watson because, again, with Watson, for the first couple of years I had him, Watson, my dog, by the way, I spent loads of time training him, and I loved it, absolutely loved it, and I still do. Yesterday, I had a rare day where I felt like doing some training with Watson, and we just both had so much fun. He makes me laugh, he really enjoys it, his tail's wagging the whole time, and it's so much fun. And there's been so many times I've been able to manage only the basics with Watson. You know, he needs a walk. I've been able to go out, cross the road, let him have a pee, walk up and down on the grass, and then come back in again. That's all I've been able to manage, you know. And again, I'll be able to get some of that back, hopefully, if I recover. But Watson's now 10. He's now a senior dog, you know, so it's robbed time from that. It's definitely robbed time from YouTube for me because there are so many ideas in my head and so many videos I would love to do, and so many videos I would have loved to do over the years that I've not been able to do. And what that means is obviously it's affected my earnings. I earn from YouTube now approximately £100 a month. And I was at a point where I was earning £600 or £700 a month. Now, obviously, partly that's due to YouTube and they've changed their algorithms and everything, but partly it was due to the fact that I would be putting up 3 or 4 videos a week, whereas now I'm lucky if I put up 1 a week. So it's robbed that sort of continuity on YouTube for me, and the enjoyment I got from having something like that. You know, don't get me wrong, I still have it, I know, but I certainly don't have any income from it that I could count on anymore, and I don't have the health enough to do the videos that I would like to do. I've got so many ideas for this channel, but like I said, it's just about how many days I have healthy enough to do the videos. I've put on here youthful appearance, and I just feel like when I started getting these migraines, I was 43. and I'm now 52, so actually it's more than 7 years. But in the last however many years, the last 3 or 4 years is I've had it daily, and it's really, really interrupted life. These are the 3 to 4 years that I've got bags under my eyes, dark circles, and have suddenly aged. Now, I'm not saying that that is down to having migraines. It may well be, but even if it's just down to normal aging, I haven't been able to enjoy those last few years I had of not having that aging look. Somebody actually told me yesterday, we were talking, guessing people's ages, and she told me I looked 54. She thought, and you could see from her face, she thought she was being complimentary. I was horrified because on my 50th birthday, people couldn't believe it, but I feel like now I look my age. Hopefully I don't look older than my age. Hopefully that was just a one-off. But yeah, it's that time has gone now. My youthful appearance has gone, and I will never get that back. And I wasn't able to enjoy it. Health. Oh yeah, I've put years of McDonald's and lack of exercise, because again, I was going to the gym all the time before I got before these migraines really affected me, or I was doing exercise. And I have tried, you guys know I've dabbled, and I went to yoga, and look what happened there. I've tried to go to the gym, but I've so little time that's healthy time that I don't exercise as much as I should. I would love to be going out on long walks with Watson. That was something else I did. I used to take him up the hills, and I would love it. And I've talked about McDonald's and the kind of unhealthy eating that happens because of my migraine days. Because at the end of the day, even if I'd planned a dinner, I might not have the brain power to look at a menu and try and remember the steps of something, but to throw chicken nuggets into an air fryer, I can do if Kev's not here, or sometimes Kev will do it, but it depended. He was working till not getting home till 7:30. It was too late for him to then start cooking something. So I feel like that will all add up to even more clogged arteries. That has not done my health any good, and it pisses me off, to be honest. The same as all the rest of it does, missing time with my dad and whatnot. And then I've said friends and family, because I could go on about that. Time has been robbed because I can't speak to them on the phone. Because I can't speak on the phone very rarely. Even on tramadol days, it's really hard for me to speak on the phone. Even now, on a tramadol day where I am talking, it's hurting my head. I can bear it, and I can do this video, and it's not making me miserable. But having a phone like that, or even on speakerphone, and hearing somebody else's voice, it just doesn't work for me. It's just too painful. And so, like I said, that's robbed time. I could have been speaking to my mum. I rarely speak to my mum, rarely. I haven't spoken to her for a year and a half. I saw her, we met up for the day, which was great. I was really nervous about it because I was going to be on the train, and with the tramadol last and all of that. But yeah, that's the other thing. Then I've said that as well as time, it's robbed hope from me. The hope has been robbed because I often feel like, am I ever going to get over this? Am I ever going to be well again? Because this has been 7 years. Or even if you say this has been 4 years daily, this is 4 years of my life. And this is not 4 years in my 20s. This is 4 years in my 50s. In a blink of an eye, I'm going to be 60. I want to get healthy in this time. I want to enjoy this time while I am, as mobile as I am now, especially seeing Kev's dad, and what he's going through. It makes you really appreciate being able to get up and move around as much as I can. But remember, I've got the other things going on, as most of us have, but I've got the Ehlers Danlos going on in the background. So my joints are deteriorating and things are going downhill with that, whilst I'm trying to get over this migraine. I hope this isn't just a video of me moaning. I'm hoping that you guys, the reason for doing this is so that you guys understand, although I may look like I'm being positive all the time, I'm definitely not. And that by you knowing you're not alone, that will give you some comfort. There's a lot of things I can't do is the next thing that affects my mental health. And I don't think people realise how difficult it is to do things. So you might see, for example, if you're on Instagram, you might see a picture of me holding up a cocktail and I've met my friend for lunch and had a great time. That's been a long time ago that we did that because we haven't been drinking a lot of the time lately. But when I meet my friend, I have to kind of do a lot the day before. I have to make sure I don't have any tramadol the day before. I have to make sure I've got a tramadol allowance for a start, which means, not taking it on another day. I need to not do anything on the computer or not do any exercise because I don't want to trigger a migraine. You know, can't do anything that would trigger a migraine the following day because then tramadol wouldn't work. I have to sort of strap up all of my joints with my KT tape. I have to make sure I take stuff for my low blood sugar because I did, last time I met my friend, I had a hypo. And yeah, there's a lot of kind of preparation and things that go into that. And also, when I have a cocktail, when I do have alcohol, I will pay for that probably by having a headache the following day. But I can't make plans, or I can make plans, but it's very difficult to make plans. You know, I have, actually my dentist has left my practice and I'm devastated because her and we had such a laugh every time I went in, and I got the nicest message from her saying that she left me a little voice note because I said, where are you, Rania, where are you? And she said, you're one of the patients I was devastated to leave behind. Let's meet up for coffee. And I would love to meet her for coffee, but I literally only have room for my best friend because the time that I have where I'm healthy is so small, and that needs to be for living, so tidying, groceries, cooking, and, you know, Watson and my husband and things like that. So it would be really difficult to meet her and to have other friends in my life. And it's difficult to make appointments. I have to be really careful in a week that, you know, I don't make appointments on different days because I need to do it on a tramadol day. I can't be social really. I can't do anything else to make money. I would love to work. I would love to do volunteer work even, just so that I'm out meeting people, and I would love to be more involved with animals. I would love to have a second dog. I can do none of these things, and I can't even earn us any more money, if you know what I mean. Other than YouTube, that's the only opportunity, and that, like I said, is really, really tricky just now. Not just because of me, it just seems to be tricky to earn money on YouTube. I was always very, very house proud, and my house was always tidy. You know, a lot of us as women, I hate to say that it's just women, some men are like that, but not many, are constantly cleaning. You know, you put things in the dishwasher, you wipe the side, you know, constantly making sure that the house looks nice. And that has obviously not happened over the last few years. That's one of the things I've gained back in the last little while, thanks to gabapentin. And I'm so thankful because it's really, that is good for my mental health. I think if you are a house proud person, not being able to clean is really bad for your mental health. Kev doesn't understand that at all, but see, a Friday night, if I've managed to do some cleaning and the house is nice and clean and tidy, sitting down on a Friday night is just like, oh, this is lovely. But if I can see that it needs hoovering, it's not good. Now, before anybody jumps on Kev, I could ask Kev to do it, and he 100% would. But he's never going to do it the way I would do it, and I don't want him to do it. I enjoy doing it. You know, it's something that I like doing if I've got the energy to do it. And so that kind of affects your self-esteem, I think. The whole thing of not being able to earn money, not being able to clean the house, not being able to cook meals. It really affects your self-esteem because you think, well, what use am I? And I've said that a lot to Kev, like, what use am I? I'm using his money because he's the earner. I can't contribute that, you know. Most of the time I can barely do anything other than talk. You know, I can't imagine I'm the greatest company because he'll ask me how I am, and it's most of the time it's like, not great, my head's not great, you know. We can't do very much because we'll go out for a walk, say on a tramadol day, and it may or may not work for the whole day. You know, I may be have relief for the whole day, but I may not. We may go on a walk and then I'm just like, no, I can't carry on, and we have to stop. I have to go and sit on a bench. He goes and drives the car around and comes to get me. That might even be on days you see on Instagram where there's lovely pictures of Watson and even a picture of me and Watson. It can happen just like that. I can suddenly be hit by this migraine, by the start of it, by the, you know, the weakness that I feel from it. And that's it, the day's over, you know. And so, yeah, there's a lot of times I've said to Kev, I just feel like I'm, like, what am I giving to the world? Because Watson needs me, and I can. He's probably the biggest motivator for me, like, as in, even when I'm really, really weak, I would do anything for him. I would drag myself to do anything for him, you know. But yeah, it's really hard to have that sort of self-esteem because you think, what am I giving to the world when I'm sitting here doing nothing? So I hope, like I said, that this just doesn't come off as just a video of me moaning, but I'm happy on days where where I have some pain relief. You know, I have some pain relief today. I can feel the headache come in. It's starting across here and then it goes down into my eye. My own voice is starting to annoy me. And I can smile and be happy on camera. I always think with the dog walkers, they must think, does she really have a migraine? Because they come every day and I will smile and chat every day. But I sit there, like when Watson's due to be dropped off, I will be sitting there desperately waiting for him to be dropped off, and it could be like it's within a couple of hours and I have to just sit there. I'm just like, I just want that to happen so that I can get that, having to stand up and get to the door and speak to the person, and then I can go and lie down, because I could just lie down and the dog walker could just let Watson in, but I want to know if Watson was okay and how he was, etc. And I would say that they wouldn't know the difference, other than sometimes I've got my cephali stuck to my head, or my cool cap on or something, you know. And so on most of the days that I have a migraine, I'm blooming miserable, and you know that I'm crying a lot. And I suppose that's why it's nice to have YouTube to come and chat and be, you know, sparky with. But like I said, there are people that I meet, neighbours that are friends. There's neighbours that I would be meeting for coffee, that I used to meet for coffees, to go over to theirs. They used to come over to ours. It's just never happened. I did a newborn photo shoot for them of their baby, buy him a present every year. He's 5 years now, and I haven't ever been able to see them. One of them wants me to go to the sauna with her. I'd love to, but it's just not possible, you know, and that's something I would love to do. So that's all of the negative stuff. That's how it affects me. What do I do about that? There's two things that I think you've got to do in order to not be in too much of a slump. And that is, when you have any kind of healthy time, or when you have any sort of relief from the pain, is do things you enjoy. You've got to do things you enjoy in that time. You've got to have things to look forward to. And that's very hard. You know, sometimes people will say, oh, yay, it's Friday, I'm looking forward to the weekend. And, you know, I'd be like, now at least I tend to try and save my pain relief for the weekend. But I'd be like, well, it's no different for me. I'm in pain, so what is there to look forward to, you know? But you've got to have something to look forward to, even if, for me, that was sometimes having something naughty to eat at night, you know. And that's how I ended up the weight that I was, because that was the thing. I couldn't do very much. What else could I do? But I could eat a packet of crisps that I really enjoyed, you know. But I do think it won't be that for everybody. It might be listening to music if you don't have the noise sensitivity that I have. It may be spending time with your family, just watching a video. It could, whatever it is that brings you joy, you need to do that. And you need to do as much of that in your healthy time, and leave behind the things that you think you should do, you know, like cleaning and whatnot. For me, I enjoy cleaning, so it's fine. And the other thing that I think you need to do is research. Just keep on researching your own condition. Watch videos on YouTube. Information overload, basically. Read books, because I've read probably, I don't know, 20 books on migraine and chronic pain. I've watched countless videos. I've listened to Audible books, and I always gain something new. And I've got something new from this one I've just listened to, and it's a book that I've read, but I'm getting something new from listening to it. And I also, even the other day, I was like, right, I'm going to ask ChatGPT, I'm going to ask the AI, what is the treatment for refractory migraine? Refractory migraine is what I have, so basically migraine that doesn't respond to normal treatment. And it's come up with another thing that I'm going to do a video on that was really surprising. And so you can always find new information, and that will give you hope, you know, for, I'm not saying hope for necessarily a cure. There is no cure for a migraine. I know that I have, one of my lovely viewers has MS. There's no cure for MS, but there are things that can make life easier, and there is definitely hope. You know, I've got a friend here who walks his dogs, and he has an MS, and it affects his mobility so much, but so differently. Like, you could meet him one day and he's okay, and then if he's in the sort of not relapse, the opposite, you know what I mean, then he looks completely different. And if I see him when he's relapsing, he's on crutches and he can literally walk from here to the end of the street, but he drives his car up to where we walk and he just walks his dogs up and down. And you know, obviously they're going about 10 times the amount of times it takes him to get up. And yeah, he's really lovely and positive, and there are things that you can definitely do. He was talking about a clinical trial actually that he was going to go on. But yeah, research, I think. Get as much information as you can in whatever way works for you. And so I think it gives you hope. You need to have hope and you need to have joy in your life. That's certainly what works for me. And so, and also I've got Watson, you know, you need to have some kind of purpose, I think. And for me, my purpose is Watson. So my purpose before was looking after my dad, you know, and I have no family up here. My purpose is looking after Watson, and he takes a lot of looking after. You know, maybe that's why he was sent to me, because he's high maintenance, and yeah, he takes a lot of looking after. Right, I am going to stop rambling because I feel actually quite exhausted talking about all that. It's because it does sound depressing, doesn't it? But I am a optimistic person, and I am a cheerful person, and so I sometimes worry that the migraine has robbed me of that, and that when the migraine goes, I won't know how to be positive again. You know, I think to myself, am I just going to be a negative Nancy for the rest of my life? But hopefully not, you know. And if I can do it on camera, which is me, this is not me I'm not putting an act on when I'm on here, other than I'm ignoring sometimes the pain that's going on, and I'm putting on a smiley face when I don't necessarily feel happy. This is still me, if that makes sense. So anyway, I hope this has been useful for me. Let me know how your chronic illness or chronic pain has affected your mental health. Leave in the comments below. I read every single comment, and even if your comment is, which, you know, some people do comment a long comment, and I find that really interesting, and I will read that and see how it's affected you, and also what you do to counteract the mental health effects, and then that will hopefully help other people as well. So thank you so much for listening, especially if you've got this far, and I will speak to you again soon.